Welcome to the We Nurture podcast, where we give you the tools to help your child blossom. I'm Chinya Lu. Today, on Inspirational Wednesday, I'm so excited to be able to talk about 12 types of play. As with all our Wednesday episodes this season, you can watch the video version on YouTube. And to those of you already watching, welcome. As parents, we know how important play is for young children, and that play and learning are really one and the same. I'll take this step even a bit further by adding that developmentally appropriate play respects where the young child is and allows them to approach new concepts and develop new capacities at their own pace and in their own timing. What we also need to keep in mind is that every child has their own unique timing. So the most effective way for a young child to be educated is to let them learn through play at their own pace, to let them learn when they are ready, and also to notice what they're interested in, what draws them. The types of play that I'll focus on is based on research that was used as a tool for assessing whether play in early childhood programs was providing adequate opportunities and materials for all types of play. Now, although this research was the result of assessing educational needs for young children, it's a useful tool for us as parents to know about, because this can help us to determine whether we're providing the variety of play that our child needs at home. And, if they're attending a program, do they have access to these different types of play? I'll talk about 12 key types of play that was addressed in a booklet called Crisis in the Kindergarten by the Alliance for Childhood, and the link will be in the show notes. So let's start with language play. Right from birth, we teach our language that we speak, to our child. And this is the beginning of language development. Young children love hearing words that rhyme in stories and songs, and also playful verses that we say to them. Playing with language is a wonderful way to capture your child's attention and to connect with them. And it's fun for them because we can play with language and make it very playful. And this is just where they are naturally. They want to play at everything. Now, finger plays are also wonderful for language play, and you can use these to capture your child's attention and draw them in with playful language. And then there's small motor play. Now, small motor play involves play that, with like small toys that develop small motor, skills and dexterity. And the types of play here can include like puzzles, sorting objects, or like moving trains along a train track, dressing and undressing dolls and other little toys. It involves fine motor skills where eye-hand coordination is needed, and the concentration of your child's effort is going to be centered in their fingers and in their wrists and in their hands. And then there's large motor play. When it comes to movement, children love to explore, what their body can do. They love to see what kind of big movements they're capable of. And they often want us to see them making these movements, like jumping and climbing, running, balancing their body, sometimes in very precarious ways, and also with like rolling down hills. These are the kind of large motor movements that you'll see your child so willingly engaging in. And these kinds of movements develop and strengthen their, the sense of where their body is in space. And this is important because it gives a young child a sense of relationship to the objects and people, in their world, what's around them and where their body is in connection to that. And then there is sensory play. And this is play that children Although many, children do love sensory play. And I observed, during my years in the classroom that some children avoided particular types of sensory play, such as playing in the sandbox or playing with dirt. And you can help your child to support your child to being able to engage in all kinds of sensory play by giving them the opportunity to just really be able to move their body in large, big ways outside. The sensory play that many children love, of course, is playing with water. And this kind of experience helps water play with the senses, helps children to often just release emotions. But children just love being in water with their hands, especially also in their bubbles. Sensory play supports the development of the senses in the years from birth to 7. So it's very important for every child to have the possibility to engage in all kinds of sensory play. And in Waldorf education, this focus is on the 4 foundational senses, what we call the 4 foundational senses: the sense of touch, the sense of life or well-being, sense of movement, being able to move their bodies around, and the sense of balance. And then there's symbolic play. Now, around the age of 3, you'll notice that your child is engaging a lot in symbolic play, or they'll pretend that a toy that they have in their hand is something else. I'll come back to this in just a moment, but I wanted to mention that 2-year-olds aren't quite ready for symbolic play. And this is because they're still working on language acquisition and naming objects and people and places. So this is why it's important that we, as the adults in their lives, name things correctly. Otherwise, it can be very confusing to them, especially if we try to engage them in, symbolic play where we're pretending something is something else. You might get a puzzled look from your child. So back to the 3-year-olds, but they are ready for symbolic play. As you'll notice, 3-year-olds will quickly pick up an object and pretend that it's something else. And this happens often during their play, as their imagination is at work and is very rich. This is one reason why Waldorf education encourages open-ended toys that aren't fixed, because this leaves room for, the child's imagination to just flourish. And now on to construction play. Typically, children around age 3 and older are drawn to play that involves building, like building a fort or building a playhouse with blankets or bed sheets and enclosing themselves, getting inside. They also enjoy building boat-like structures that they can climb into and pretend to sail away. They want and need to be able to move and challenge their body and their imagination. They often want to do it in big ways. They want to try things out and explore possibilities, really engage in self-discovery. So let's consider for a moment what construction play might look like at home. So we're building a fort, as I mentioned, or a playhouse. This is something wonderful that can be made under a dining room table. While, all the sides are enclosed with bed sheets or blankets. Children love cozy little spaces that they can crawl into. It's like they get an opportunity to create their own little world. And also using sofa cushions and pillows is another way to give a child an opportunity to get creative and to explore building. They might want to stack the pillows or stack the sofa cushions. And as they're working with their own hands and ideas, it's again another way for them to just be very creative and build their imagination. I was always so fascinated with what my children would come up with at home by using things in the home, as I mentioned, like bed sheets and blankets and pillows and sofa cushions, to just really be able to explore and see what was possible. And then there's rough and tumble play. Not all children enjoy rough and tumble play. And those that seek it out, I have found, they need opportunities to engage in this type of play. Some children need it because they are seeking more physical contact and connection, on this kind of physical level. It helps them to get to know boundaries, where their body ends and where the rest of what's around them begins. Rough and tumble play can be helpful for children who need to experience a physical boundary. This can help them to have a better feeling of where their body ends and where the world begins. So when your child is engaged or your children are engaged in rough and tumble play, stay close because often they need help. First of all, in finding a safe place for this type of play, and with reading facial expressions and not with being too aggressive, and just, help them with keeping this kind of play playful. That's the key. And then there's artistic and creative play. Young children see life through play, and they'll play at everything they do, as I so often say. So it's not surprising that artistic and creative play is included here with the 12 key types of play. Play for young children is a way for them to explore, experiment, discover, find joy, and have fun. Including activities in your child's week, especially if they're not getting this, in a school program or daycare program, is very important. And these activities can be watercolor painting, coloring, puppet shows, making crafts, and even singing together. This really nourishes a child on the soul level, whereas some of the other types of play that we've already explored nourishes on a physical level. Nourishing the soul through activities like those I've mentioned, and by no means is it a complete list, but they allow your child to express their ideas and feelings that are attached to their ideas. With artistic and creative experiences, your child often, will have more freedom in expressing themselves. And this can reveal to you more about who they are. And then there's risk-taking play. There are children who will naturally seek out risk-taking play, while others are quite content to just sit back and watch. But I do believe that if given a chance, children will generally want to stretch themselves and take some risks. Some children, of course, more than others. They will have a sense of what their body can do. This is what risk-taking play gives to the child. Taking risks builds confidence. And more importantly, it's the beginning of a child developing the ability to know just how far they can push themselves and when to, say no. And setting boundaries, this is also something I think that risk-taking play does begin to provide for young children, what they're willing to try. And as I mentioned, what they'll say no to, setting those boundaries there for themselves. Often it takes courage, from the parent, from us as parents, to make space and to allow, our child to be able to take risks. And then there's mastery play. So mastering a particular aspect of play, whether it's physical or creative, is something that all children really do want to be able to have the opportunity to see, to try out. Mastery play can also be called practice play. Now, depending on your child's interests, which will, of course, change as they grow and develop, they'll be drawn to practice over and over again an aspect of play that they want to know inside out. They will persevere even when it becomes frustrating, but stay with them, stay close, encourage your child, support them, but do not try to do it for them. Children know when they have achieved something on their own, and as a result, of their own efforts. That makes them very sure of themselves and more confident and more able to just continue to practice and practice and practice, no matter how hard it will be. And then there's rules-based play. This type of play often begins around age 5 or 6, when children start to describe and talk about what they want to play, how they will play it, who will play what part, and they will often then negotiate as they plan. And although they may not use the word rules, they do, in fact, establish their own rules around the play, around the play situation or scenario that they are engaged in. And the rules are often very fluid and changing, just as the play is fluid. And then there's make-believe play. This is play that children naturally do. They love to pretend. And we too enjoy playing pretend with children. Just the words, let's pretend, takes your child to that imaginative place, and they are ready to engage. Make-believe play also involves dressing up to play a part, and it helps children to easily slip into a different persona. They can explore what it feels like to take on a different persona. Children also enjoy playing at being an animal, like a dog or a cat, or perhaps a lion. There's a quality about taking on a different persona that they are seeking to experience, maybe to feel stronger, or maybe to sometimes be very, very little again. Just different kinds of feelings that they bring into that make-believe play. The types of play that each child finds enjoyable will depend on their interests and abilities at each stage of their development. This is where knowing about the different types of play can help you meet your child's interests and meet their needs when it comes to play that considers the child's physical body, creative and artistic exploration, and also the development of their cognitive skills. It can also, tell us the types of play that supports, our child's learning. And these are some of the ideas that, you can kind of take from what I've spoken about and see what you can incorporate in your home and provide for your child. So I hope you found this to be helpful. Tune in tomorrow for Seasonal Thursday. And we'd love to have you connect with us on Instagram at @we_nurture. And we're always so grateful when our listeners subscribe to the podcast and rate and review, because this helps us reach more parents, just what we want to do. I'd also like to add that if you're looking for one-on-one parenting support, you can book a parenting coaching session with me on our website at wenurturecollective.com. We have a children's book that you can purchase for your child. It's called The 3 Little Deers and the Great Storm, and it's a companion storybook to episode 50 on our Stories for Children podcast. You'll find all the details on our website and more at wenurturecollective.com. Thanks so much for listening and watching.